Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a special, our very first Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 1 open spoiler discussion. Now, in case the title didn't give it away, this is going to be a completely open and spoiler-filled discussion about Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 1. If you have not seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 1, then you may want to go away from this video and then come back to it later once you have had a chance to check it out. But we are going to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and this new second installment of the MCU on Disney+. Of course, we just got through WandaVision. It was an incredible start to the MCU on Disney+, and now we've moved on to my number one most anticipated MCU property coming out on Disney+, which is Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, let's talk about it. Here's how today's show is going to go, guys. I'm going to start off by giving you a couple of my thoughts and opinions, my own perception about episode 1, and then we're just going to take the rest of the time to take your guys' observations, your guys' thoughts, your guys' opinions, your guys' questions about what we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier episode number 1. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it here. I loved it. I loved it. It was a great first episode, but I mean, look, we didn't get to really truly meet the villain yet. Fine, episode 1. We didn't see Sam and Bucky together yet. But what I loved about this was that, you know, Robert and I are often talking on the show, and Rob says this all the time. Great stories start with great characters. And if you're going to do characters right, you have to give us a little bit of time to get to know these characters. And what I loved about the beginning, this first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, they don't waste any time. Well, number one, there was this incredible set action piece, which we will talk about in just a couple of minutes. But the very fact that we talk about Bucky, he's back from the snap. They clear up he has been pardoned. I guess fighting to save, 3 billion people will give you a little bit of leniency from the government. So we find out he's been pardoned, but condition of that is he's got to do therapy. A lot of verisimilitude with that. He has to do therapy. He's in therapy. He's going through his Green Arrow list of people he's got to make amends to. And we come to the whole thing about the old Chinese man. Oh my God. Okay, so when we saw his nightmare flashback, where he was still working for Hydra and he ends up taking out that bystander, I admit, I didn't connect the dots between that guy and the old Chinese man, because my first thought was, oh, the old Chinese man, or maybe he's Japanese. Some people saying I thought he was Japanese. Maybe he was Japanese. I don't know. But I thought that was a World War II buddy. My first is because they seemed to be familiar with each other. So I just kind of assumed it was a World War II buddy. Maybe a member of the Howling Commandos. I don't know. But there seemed to be some kind of connection between them. And so I just assumed old friend who has aged while Bucky hasn't aged. And I didn't connect the dots. And it wasn't until he went to the dude's apartment and he opens the door and he sees a picture on his mantle. And I'm like, and I'm glad I didn't figure it out. I'm glad I didn't connect the dots. I'm sure many of you guys did, but I'm glad I didn't, because when he opens the door and Bucky sees the picture of the dude that he murdered at the guy's shrine. Oh, come on. Tell me that didn't hit you. Tell me that didn't hit you. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, no wonder Bucky's in therapy. Because not only, his is just in general, his life has been really messed up. But now that he's of his own mind and everything again, he's having to try to deal with all these horrible things he did and this idea. And, I guarantee you, there is a scene coming in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I guarantee you. There is going to be a scene in an upcoming episode, whether it's episode 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, where Bucky is going to go back to that guy's house and he's going to tell him. And we're going to see that scene. And when we get that scene of Bucky finally confessing to him that I'm the one who killed your son, I think there are going to be many grown-ass men reaching for the tissues reaching for the tissues. And I don't mean for the regular reason that you probably reach for your tissues, but I mean, a lot of people, men, women, and children, are going to be reaching for the tissues and touching. I'm telling you, it's going to be stupid. And I don't care how much more action and how much more big set pieces and visual effects are coming. I'm telling you what, that is the scene I am now looking forward to most in this show. I want to see that moment. And this is an MCU show, and we're talking about now the thing I'm looking forward to most is this incredible character breakthrough moment of when a man confesses to another man, I'm the one who murdered your son. And I'm like just trying to think about it, and I'm breaking down. So it's great. I love the relationship. I love the dynamic between Bucky and his therapist. It's awesome. Fantastic relationship there. I love the way she keeps coming back at him. And he's like, when she goes, that's total bullshit. And he's like, you're a terrible therapist. I don't know why. I just loved the chemistry. I thought it was great. But then moving on from that, we meet Sam. And they address something that we're always talking about as fans. How does a superhero make money? How does a superhero who is not Tony Stark make money? How do they pay the bills? People don't just come walking along and hand out money to the superheroes. As you go, here you go, here's money. Take money. You know, and to see a hero who fought at the battle at Avengers Compound to bring back billions of people can't get a loan to keep his family's boat. He can't get a loan to keep their house, their family house, upkept. And even though he's got celebrity status, he's finding out that doesn't really mean anything. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who I was watching it with, and I said, there's something really amazing about watching a superhero having to deal with just common struggles. We've been talking a lot lately about Superman and Lois. And one of the things that has got me completely hooked on the Superman and Lois show is the fact that we're looking at Superman having to deal with problems that his superpowers don't help with. And they're problems that a lot of real people deal with. How do I balance? Well, he's a superhero, but how do I balance my work with my marriage, with trying to be a parent to my kids? And his superpowers, his heat ray vision doesn't help with that. His super speed doesn't help with that. And there's something about that. And as I'm sitting there watching this at first kind of funny scene with this banker wanting to get selfies with the Falcon, and it quickly turns to this reality of, and that amazing line, you've got no income for the last 5 years. How am I supposed to have income? I was gone. I was wiped out of existence for 5 years. Of course I have no income for the last 5 years. And then instead of him being off fighting monsters, we're seeing him fighting to just keep his parents' boat. And there's something about that I loved. And by the way, so my one buddy who watched it with us, because I first watched the first episode a few days ago, and my buddy came over to watch it, and he's a huge Captain America fan. Like, my buddy, everything for him is Captain America. And when the show starts and we see Sam, no, honestly, in the live chat, I want to ask you guys this, in the live chat, when the show starts and we see Sam putting on the suit, the dark suit, how many of you guys thought he was about to go to Captain America's funeral? And that's, my buddy is sitting like me, Anna, my buddy's like, no, don't, he's not going to a funeral, is he? He's not going to a funeral. Come on, yes. And I see you guys in there, like Jack, Isaac, Greg, Timanya saying like, yeah, right. We all thought he was, there's a couple of you saying, no, you didn't think so. A couple of you didn't think so. I totally did. I thought, oh my God, he's going to Steve's funeral. So I guess Steve is still out there somewhere, but I was very, very happy to see that. We got a Rhodey cameo in there. It's probably going to be the only time we see him, but maybe he'll pop up one more time. Basically talking, why didn't you become the next Captain America? And I want to say, well, Rhodey, for first, he doesn't have any superpowers that Captain America had, but whatever. Why didn't he take up the shield? And then putting the shield in the museum and talking about Captain America. That was awesome. And by the way, George St. Pierre, Batroc the Leaper, is back and badass as ever. And maybe I'm just saying this because I'm a George St. Pierre fanboy, but I really did respect the fact that he kicked Sam's ass. When it came to just straight hand-to-hand combat, even though Sam had the wings and everything, Batroc beat him in a fight. I don't know why Batroc didn't kill him, but he just left him there on the plane and dove out of the plane. But I like that, especially considering that Captain America had a tough time beating Batroc in hand-to-hand, right? So I thought, please don't just automatically say, I mean, Captain America had super strength and super speed and all that kind of stuff. So I was glad that they were keeping a little bit of perspective, a little bit of balance in there for that. But, and remember, we haven't seen the last of Batroc because before his helicopter exploded, George St. Pierre jumped out of that helicopter. And let's talk for a second. Let's talk about for a second about that whole action sequence to start this show off with. Robert Meyer Burnett and I were on the phone together this morning and talking about that action sequence. It's like, that is like nothing we've seen in a TV show before. That level of visual effects and that level of production for a TV show is stellar. Like when Kevin Feige said, we're making these shows as feature films. We are taking the same approach to these as feature films. He wasn't messing around. That sequence, I mean, the one thing that I didn't like as I'm watching this sequence was like, I should be watching this on a big screen. I should be watching this in a movie theater. But how cool was that, by the way? First of all, the guys who actually do the flying squirrel suits have always blown my mind. Like, guys who do that crap blow my mind. But that shot as the guy in the flying squirrel suit flies alongside the helicopter and he just goes into the helicopter, like airborne to airborne, and just flies right in. That to me was like absolutely amazing. I loved that shot. That looks so good. And it's like, he won't follow us into Tunisia. And then all of a sudden they turn over and he's sitting right beside them. What's up? And then the fight ensues back again and then it gets airborne again. It was so great. And I also love the fact that it wasn't a half hour long. This was a good, like 40, not counting credits, it was probably good 43, 44 minutes. Whereas like WandaVision was like 29 minutes, 30 minutes, not counting the credits time is like. So I like the fact that it was a little bit longer. I really did enjoy that. And oh my God. And then they end with, and now here's our new Captain America. And when they were announcing a new Captain America, I love the way they cut back and forth between Sam and where they were announcing and introducing the new Captain America. And the way they shot it and the way Anthony Mackie played it, you could see his heart breaking. You could see he was broken seeing them do that. That's Cap's shield. And Captain America is not just a name you hand around. That is Steve Rogers' shield. And he gave it to me. And we decided this is best to be in a museum as a symbol. And then you just take it and hand it off to some fool? What? And you could just see, and all of that without any dialogue from Sam. No dialogue. You could just see it on his face. And I thought that was amazing. I thought that was amazing. And by the way, we were just watching it again because Erin Cummings and her husband Tom are still here because we're going to go to the movies tonight. And when the new Captain America comes out, she goes, you know, I don't want to be mean, but that guy does not wear Captain America's mask like Chris Evans does. I'm like, nope, that totally does. That totally looks like Walmart Captain America. Totally looks like Walmart Captain America. But anyway, I thought for a first episode, the Flag Smashers, we get a slight introduction to them. I like the fact that they understood to have a good story, you got to have good characters, and to have good characters, you got to let us get to know them. You got to let us soak in where they're at right now. And they did that with the first episode. And now all the stuff they do for the remaining episodes is going to benefit because we got this really good soak in the characters or whatever. By the way, I thought one of the funniest moments was when she says to Buck, how old are you? And he's like, 106. And she laughs and he's, I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome. I love the fact that he showed up to a date with flowers, which also bothered me because Anne looks at me because it's been a while since I bought flowers for us going out on a date to give her flowers. So I'm like, fuck you, Bucky, but whatever. Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I cannot wait. to watch the rest of this thing. And now I'm just heartbroken that it's only 6 episodes. You know, when they announced that they were going to do 6 episodes, I like, okay, yeah, that's fine. 6, cool. It's a good limited series, whatever. But now that I've seen the first episode, I'm like, damn, it's only 6 episodes. But whatever, as long as they keep them like over 45 minutes per episode, I'm good with that. Whatever. So yeah, there's all that. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the episode. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a great start, and I'm very much looking forward to the remainder of the episode. So let's now take some time. We'll spend the rest of the show now taking your observations, thoughts, opinions, and questions about this episode. So let's not waste any time, and let's jump over and get to it. We're going to start things off here with Jesse Keller, who writes, Bucky and the old man have a cute relationship. I first thought he was a World War II friend. Absolutely. That is 1,000% exactly what I just assumed he might have been a Howling Commando, whatever. Anyway, a World War II friend. But then that scene happened. Man, that was so sad. That poor old guy. My heart broke for both of them. My heart broke for the old guy because obviously the loss of his son. And then my heart was breaking for Bucky, who's just like now dealing with that guilt that I'm the one who did this to him. And it was so powerful. John Salvi writes, Sam in suit was hoping it wasn't for Cap's funeral. I was thinking the exact same thing, John. It's like he's putting on, oh, come on. Tell me he's not going to a funeral. Tell me he's not going to a funeral. And whew, deep breath. It makes me wonder, though, if we might see an old man Captain America pop up in a cameo. I'm not saying I've heard that. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying maybe. Who knows? Maybe. Tacky75 writes, I was wondering, too, if superheroes get a salary. I mean, it was a huge, right? We've always thought about that. How do superheroes make their money? I mean, Peter Parker's got to take pictures of himself as Spider-Man, but how do they do it? And seeing like a superhero having financial struggles is actually amazing in a show like this. So I thought that was great. Suthius writes, I think it was great that Bucky was pardoned by the government. Behind Vision, Bucky is probably my second favorite in the MCU. I cannot wait to see his future. And it made sense because, you know, we talked about that a little bit in WandaVision. Because some people were saying, wait a minute. Wanda was on the right side of the Civil War, but as far as the government was concerned, she was on the wrong side of Civil War. How is she walking around free even after the blip? And we talked about this on the show. I said, you know what? I'll bet you anything all those Avengers were given special pardons. I mean, they did just save 3 billion lives. They did just make the world whole again. So I thought about that. So it was cool hearing them vocally acknowledge that. Bucky was pardoned. Now, there are conditions to his pardon, but he was pardoned, and I did like that. All right, Steve Mattern writes, I'm happy Henry Jackman returned to score. To me, the trumpet anthem and the Winter Soldier's screech sound in the soundtrack fit both characters very well. Yeah, they did a very good job with the soundtrack in this thing. All the notes hit right, especially during that action sequence. I thought the music that was playing during the action sequence, it highlighted all the right stuff at the right time. I thought it absolutely worked. I'm right there with you on that, Steve. All right, next up, Suthius writes, we have to remember that some of these heroes do have families. It's true. So it's nice seeing Sam's, just like how it's nice to see Clint's family in Age of Ultron. I agree. There's something about letting us peek behind the curtain to the regular part of life for these superheroes. And not just seeing Sam having financial problems, but the fact that he has a sister. He has nephews. They have their parents' place and their parents' house. They come from a legacy. And all that was really, really key. And it's going to pay off big, big dividends doing this character work right now as the show moves forward. So I think you're right about that, Suthius. Steve Mattern writes, U.S. agent has a very punchable face. That's a very good way of putting it. He definitely, absolutely had a very, very punchable face, no doubt. Anthony M.R. writes, you see, Wanda, you're not the only hero with issues. People forget Bucky and Thor went through traumatic stuff. It's true. Now, the one thing, I mean, obviously Thor went through a lot too, but the difference between Wanda and Bucky or Thor, and we've made this comparison with Thor before, is like, has Thor experienced a lot of loss? Yes. But he's also had thousands of years as a very, very privileged, happy life. The son of the king of Asgard, the prince of Asgard, wielding Mjolnir, going from victory to victory, the love of his mother and, pleasing his father, and apparently had a really good relationship at some point with his brother Loki before things went bad. But so while Thor had like a lot of loss, he also had a lot of very good time in life. Wanda never did. She was born in a war-torn country. Her parents were murdered and killed in that war when they were just children. They grew up orphans, becoming radicalized, becoming experimental things at Hydra, losing her brother. I mean, it was her whole life has been tragedy. At least up until the events of Captain America, the First Avenger, it looked like Bucky had a pretty good life too. But you're right. A lot of these characters suffer traumatic loss. It's just that poor Wanda never had a day of happiness. Her whole life had been kind of tragic. Anyway, let's see. Dan Ketchum writes, while it's okay, the best thing I can say about this show is it makes me appreciate WandaVision even more. I don't know. Well, first of all, you can't compare WandaVision to this. The WandaVision is such a different kind of show. Like so radically different to this. And you also really can't compare them because we've seen every episode of WandaVision. We've seen chapter 1. We've seen part 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I thought was a great start. I thought it was a fabulous start. But if we're ever going to even try to compare them, which is going to be difficult to do because they are very, very different shows, you at least got to wait till the show is over before you start comparing them to the other one. But that's just my thoughts on that, Dan. All right, next up. Anthony M.R. also writes, solid episode for me. Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU film, so I'm glad this show has those vibes. I'm also glad this show is answering the question of what certain Avengers are doing post-blip. Yes, and you know what else they did that I thought was really interesting? They kind of addressed it, because we all think of the blip ending, like in Spider-Man Far From Home. The blip ending, and it's joy and happiness. People are back. Yay! But they kind of mentioned during the SHIELD ceremony that billions of people reappeared and it caused turmoil. And I never really thought about it that way. All of a sudden, 3 billion people reappearing in the world. The chaos that would cause. The absolute complete chaos that would cause. And it as much, if not more so, than when 3 billion people disappeared. So I'm glad the show kind of touched on that a bit. I'm very glad the show touched on that. Okay, next up, Taki75 writes, this one is the Marvel show I'm least excited about. I hope it proves me wrong like WandaVision. Can't wait for Loki, She-Hulk, and Miss Marvel. And listen, I am looking forward to all of those shows. I am. But Falcon and Winter Soldier, there's just something about while coming out of a show like WandaVision that was so incredibly different for a comic book material show, coming into something like Falcon and Winter Soldier, which can be, at least has the promise of being like really great classic comic book material stuff, although with a lot more depth, obviously with a lot of character work. This has been my number one most anticipated one. So hopefully it meets those expectations. All right, Suthius writes, with Sam's upgraded suit and with Stark Tech, do we know if either Pepper or Happy are the ones helping with resources such as suits, tech, and weaponry? There really wasn't any kind of reference to that. There really was no reference. And it's funny because when we were watching it for the first time, Ann said, can't he just get on the phone with Pepper? Say, hey, Pepper, listen, I could use some help. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's pride or I don't. You would think that Stark Industries would like set up some kind of a fund for people like, Rhodey, people like Sam, whatever. I don't know. But I'm not sure. All I just don't want them to do is to turn now Falcon into an Iron Man Jr. Like, does everybody have to have Iron Man tech? Everybody's got to have the heads-up display where they can get all the information and they can just say, hey, now Red Wing was, of course, introduced in the other movie, but still, go take out that helicopter. And it's like, just don't make Falcon another Iron Man Jr. That's all I'm asking. Don't make him another Iron Man Jr. Anyway, next up. The Wakanda Forever writes, Bucky, come back to Wakanda. We have real therapists. I did like that he mentioned that he had a moment of peace in Wakanda. I did like that reference. He also writes, GSP still has it. UFC comeback, Marvel crossover. GSP, by the way, was getting ready to make a comeback. But the only fight he was interested in was Habib Nurmagomedov. The only fight Khabib was interested in was George St. Pierre, but the UFC didn't want that fight to happen. And so George ain't coming back, and Khabib is now officially retired and out. The greatest mixed martial artist probably of all time is now out permanently. Too bad. Anyway, Anthony M.R. writes, the actor in the U.S. agent / Captain America suit has that derp face with the mask on. Guess they can't all look like Chris Evans. Again, like I was saying, Aaron was kind of saying that he doesn't quite wear the mask like Chris Evans does. But yes, he did in that mask, and I think they probably did it on purpose, have a bit of a derp face. I think that's well said, man. Well said. All right, next up. Timothy Platt writes, I really hope this doesn't continue to be an ongoing thing with these MCU shows. But this was another case of blink and the episode is over. Like, there are only 6 of these. Come on, man. Well, I mean, look, this one was long. I mean, most hour-long shows that are on TV have commercials. And so an hour-long episode is normally like 43 minutes. This was longer than a traditional TV hour-long show. At 40, I think the final runtime was 47 minutes, minus a couple of minutes for credits. But so it was at least longer than WandaVision episodes. It was at least longer than one. I hope they continue to stay this long or a little bit longer, but we'll see how that goes, man. Yeah, because you blink and it's over. All of a sudden it just stops. I hope they don't do that. All right. Wakanda Forever writes, great to see Rhodey again. War Machine suit up again. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him as War Machine in this. But, I mean, maybe they do just to set up the Iron Wars thing, that show that he's got coming up. So maybe they do. I got a feeling... I'm guessing we don't see him again, but maybe he will. Maybe he'll pop up 1 or 2 more times, and maybe he'll be in the War Machine outfit. We'll see. Wakanda also writes, Red Wing was awesome. Cool flying sequence. That whole sequence. I'm watching it, and like I said, Rob and I were talking this morning on the phone. It's like, you just can't believe this is on television. This is a TV show that they're doing this level of stuff with. It looked incredible. It looked absolutely incredible. Ryan Holman writes, a nice episode to start, hoping for more action later on. Well, listen, I don't know how many action sequences like that whole, and that was a long action sequence. That wasn't just like 30 seconds and out. That was like 3-4 minutes long. And it was incredible. Now, I do not expect them to give us one of those every single episode. That's unreasonable. But if we can get like 2 or 3 more like big action set pieces like that, I think I'll be pretty happy. I think I'll be pretty happy because that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing, Ryan. Or Rylan, I should say. Rylan also writes, the moment you realize the old man is the father of the kid Bucky killed, wow, so emotional. Dude, I'm not kidding. It like bang. It hit me in the chest. Because I'm sitting up, I got my drink in my hand on my sofa. I'm sitting up watching the show. When that happened, the reveal, and you see the kid's picture, I literally put my drink down. I'm just like I just flopped back in my couch. I'm like, oh my God. Then you just felt the weight of the emotion in that moment and the guilt that was crushing Bucky. The guilt was crushing him. Oh, God, that was so powerful. Wakanda writes, new dollar store costume of dollar store costume version of Captain America. Yep, I told you, it is the Walmart Captain America, everybody. It is the Walmart Captain America. Rylan writes, do you think this was it for Rhodey? Will we see him again on the show in action armor? I'm going to guess no, but I have no insider information. I'm just pulling a guess out of the air. I'm going to guess no. I think they're going to want to keep this a Falcon and Bucky show. So I'm going to guess that we're done seeing Rhodey, although he could pop up one more time. But I don't think this is going to be a Falcon, Winter Soldier, and War Machine show. So at least I hope they don't do that. Let's keep the focus here. And if he pops up again, hopefully he'll be more in an advisory role. Because let's not forget, he's got his own show coming. War Machine has his own show coming. So I hope they save a lot of that for them. I hope so, at any rate. All right, next up. Wakandan writes, Falcon saved the world, give the brother a loan. I mean, that's the thing, right? But I love the line that Falcon's sister said as they were walking out. It's not their job to help us. And I remember when she said that, because I was like indignant. Like, I was so pissed at that banker dude as they were leaving. I'm like, and then she said that line, like Sam was in disbelief. Like he's just in disbelief. Like I fought to save the world and I can't get it right. And then she throws in this line that I thought was incredibly heavy and the timing was perfect. She goes, Sam, it's not their job to help us. And I was like, damn, that's depressing. Damn, that's depressing. But it was such a well-placed line at the right time. It was really well said. Anyway, Evelyn writes, the therapy was probably my favorite part of the episode. Mine too. I'm loving that with these shows, we really get a chance to see new parts of the MCU characters. That is key. The more you give us, the more you let us dig into the characters, the more we become invested in the things that happen to these characters as the show progresses. And they are laying that groundwork in episode 1 with Sam, with Bucky. It is great to see. And like I said, Evelyn, I think it is really going to pay off big time as we now go through the rest of the show. All right, Wakandan Forever writes, the real captain, Chris Evans, needs to come back now. I have no insider information. I'm just wildly speculating. I suspect there is a possibility that at some point Sam goes to get advice from old man Steve, who is not, oh my God, wouldn't it be funny if he was living on a base on the moon? Wouldn't it be funny? Because obviously the one guy's like, hey, there's rumors that maybe Steve is living on a base on the moon. Wouldn't it be hilarious if at some point in the show, Sam actually has to go to the moon to seek guidance and counsel from old man Steve Rogers? That would be a moment. I don't think they're going to do that, but that would be funny. Evelyn writes, Darcy, they recast Captain America. That's good. I like that. They should totally cut to Darcy somewhere. They recast Captain America. I would love that. All right. Marie Seifring writes, for a TV show, the opening action sequence was impressive. Marie, I'm telling you, it wasn't just impressive. It was revolutionary. That was crazy. For a TV show, that was absolutely phenomenal. I could not believe the high quality of it. And it was just bonkers. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. All right, next up, Marie also writes, I liked when Sam and his sister try to get a loan. Post-snap, no loan because no credit history over the last 5 years. Society readjusting at all levels. And Marie, you raise a great point because we as the audience need to remember they've only been back. Like Endgame for us has been, a couple of years now since we saw Endgame. That's been a couple of years. But for them, it's only been a couple of months. And the whole world is probably, even the banks are trying to figure out and adjust to the new reality. And maybe they just haven't got something in place yet about what do we do about these 3 billion people who have had no jobs and no income, whatever, for 5 years, but here they are, they're back now. How do we deal with this? And that's something that I think I overlooked and that we need to keep reminding ourselves of, is that the whole world, this world that we're watching in the show, is still just at the beginning of learning to adjust to the snap being undone. And that's a very, very good observation, Marie. All right, next up, Anthony M.R. writes, told my friend that someone was going to somehow connect Mephisto to this show, and sure enough, I was right. I already see the rumors online. What's next? Zemo works for Doctor Doom. I know. Somebody, let me see if I can pull it up here. I'm not 100% sure that I can, but I'm going to try to pull this up. But somebody sent me this image, and it just cracked me up. Here it is. It just cracked me up. Now, this is before Falcon and Winter Soldier started. But somebody sent this to me, and I put it up on my Twitter. Let me see if I can get it here. There it is. Instead of Falcon and Winter Soldier, this is what fans are going to turn into. Mephisto and the Winter Mephisto. I thought that was hilarious. But yes, absolutely, absolutely. The theories are coming. They didn't get started because the show hadn't been out yet, but the theories are coming. Whether it's Doctor Doom or somebody's going to say Sharon Carter is actually Galactus. You think that's crazy? I guarantee you there's going to be somebody out there that's going to think that Sharon Carter is Galactus. I'm telling you, that is going to be one of the theories that we see flying around all over the place. I'm just telling you, be ready for it, Anthony. And yes, Zemo's working for Doctor Doom. That one's coming too. I absolutely guarantee you that one's coming too. All right, let's move on here. The Wakandan Forever writes, I loved the episode. It was great. It It was great superhero MCU action and what I expected. The thing with WandaVision is that it totally surprised me. Was it as good as the WandaVision premiere for you? Both great. It's hard to say because the WandaVision premiere was so different. I mean, this was MCU. Sam engaged in this big aerial battle, going from plane to helicopter to plane, rescuing a guy, and the action shooting down guys, squirrel suits flying, evading missiles, blowing things up. I mean, it was MCU. With WandaVision, we're teleported into this. We have no idea what's going on yet. Teleported into this black and white world. They're living in this 50s sitcom, and it's just, they're two such different experiences. This is part of the brilliance of the MCU, that after 12 years, 24 plus films, that keeps them fresh. All their stuff is different. They all have a similar DNA for sure, but this is a great example of what is keeping, you go from a big gotta save the universe movie to an Ant-Man movie where he's just trying to save his family, to a WandaVision, we're living in the 50s black and white sitcoms, to Falcon and Winter Soldier, big classic sci-fi Captain America sort of comic book action. They just keep switching gears, and it's great. So they're both, the WandaVision premiere and the Falcon and Winter Soldier premiere were two such different experiences that I just don't know how to compare them right now. I'm going to have to digest on that one a little bit longer. I'm going to have to digest it a bit more. Okay, next up. Wakandan writes, MCU 2 for 2, Loki, pull out your bag of tricks. Well, okay, listen. Let's also not get ahead of ourselves yet. The first episode was great. Let's see how we're like 17% into the show now. Let's see how episodes 2, 3, and 4 go. So while I really did love it, let's not get too ahead of ourselves and start saying Marvel's 2 for 2 yet. Okay, let's just wait on that. Wakanda writes, I'd love to see Bucky and Falcon in a Wakanda series. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll want to focus more on Wakanda. Once they do the Wakanda series, they're going to want to focus on Wakanda. Juno Faulkner writes, once I realized what they were doing with the old man, my mouth dropped. I can already tell this is going to be a wonderful story. And again, like I was saying a little bit earlier, Juno, before I can't wait till Falcon and Winter Soldier confront Zemo and whoever this other superpowered being is that kicked the guy across the street. No. The thing I am now looking forward to is that scene, because they're going to have it, where Bucky finally sits down and tells that old man what he did. And I'm going to lose it. I'm a grown-ass man, and I'm going to lose it. I'm telling you that right now. Let's see. Next up, James Argenta writes, after episode 1, who ends up with the shield? Sam, Bucky, the Bradley family with Carl Lumberry possibly playing Isaiah Bradley? P.S. We'll ask this question weekly. Look, it is pretty obvious right now that, with the whole scene with Rhodey and Sam, it seems pretty obvious that Sam is going to end up with the shield. And I have no problem with that. I just don't want Sam to become Captain America. I don't want Bucky to become Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America. You can be Falcon or you can be Winter Soldier wielding Captain America's shield, but you're not Captain America. There's only one Captain America. Sorry, Bucky. Sorry, Sam. There's only one Captain America, at least to me. But John, in the comic books, I know the comic books. I know the comic books. This is the MCU. But I do think it looks pretty clear like they're going to have it be Sam end up with the shield. I mean, after all, right or wrong, he's the one that Cap gave the shield to. They had that whole conversation with Rhodey. I think they're going to end up with him getting the shield. All right, next up. Hope I'm wrong, but I think he's going to get the shield. All right, Mr. 47 writes, I was expecting lighthearted action with comedy and a sprinkling of drama, but it wasn't. But it was actually a lot more drama focused, and I loved it. Mackie really acted like he had lost an old friend, and you felt the loss in his voice when he spoke about Cap. So when they announced the new Cap, it hit us just as hard. Plus, when Bucky visited the old guy, oof, the feels. And you just nailed it. You nailed it, mister. They are diving into the drama because the right drama serves the narrative, which creates a better experience for us. It does. And you're right, much like WandaVision, surprised with what it was, this is more traditional comic book fare, but on a much deeper level, right? We didn't expect to start this thing out with a therapy session, with Bucky getting therapy, with Sam trying to figure out how to keep his family's legacy business afloat, like literally and figuratively, so they don't have to sell their family's old rusted out boat, try to get a loan, and by the way, it also reminds us about this. Anthony Mackie, he is an Academy level kind of actor. I'm not saying he's going to win a bunch of Academy Awards in his career, but you're going to hear the name Anthony Mackie as an Oscar nominee, I think, multiple times in his career. Multiple times in his career. He's that good. And a lot of people just know him as Falcon, but when you look at his body of work, he is an exceptional actor. And for him, like you were pointing out, Mista, for him to get up on that stage and talk about Cap and the way he played it, you're right. It contributed to that sense of pain we felt later on when he saw the government just appointing a new Captain America. You could see it and you felt it. And a lot of that was because of this excellent performance by Anthony Mackie. So I think you're dead right about that. All right. Mr. 47 also writes, P.S. I hope Bucky stays in touch with that bartender and love that Falcon quote. Either you're early or you're late. I love that. There's no such thing as on time. You're either early or you're late. Which one are you going to be? I love that line. I'm not going to lie. I'm just looking around to make sure Anne's not here. Okay, so maybe I sometimes get a little frustrated with Anne because in the stereotypical husband-wife thing, she's often late, and that drives me crazy because I hate being late, and it's always nuts for me when we're supposed to be somewhere. She's still getting ready when it's like we were supposed to leave 15 minutes ago. So when that scene happened in the show, and he goes, no such thing as on time. You're either early or you're late. Which you going to be? I looked at Anne and said, yeah, there's no such thing as on time. Are you going to be early or late? And then she looked at me in such a way as, you better shut your fucking mouth. And I'm internally in my mind, I'm like I didn't say the words, but I mentally, she didn't say those words, but I could tell that's what was on her face said, you better shut the fuck up. And my face said, yes, ma'am, right away, ma'am. But anyway, yeah, just between you and me, I looked at my wife and said, yeah, you're either early or late. Pick one. Oh, I should shut up now. Okay, so I just learned how to shut up. Anyway, I'm not always bright. I'm not always intelligent. Some things I should just keep to myself, guys. Some things I shouldn't say out loud. That was probably one of those things I shouldn't have said out loud. All right, next up. Anthony MR writes, I agree with the previous super chat. I was in the Army as well, so I have a soft spot for military-like characters like Cap, Hawkeye, Falcon, etc. And yeah, and you could tell there's a real reverence that's done there. All the way from Cap to Rhodey, to Hawkeye, who obviously served, to now Sam. And there's an honor that they treat those characters with, and it's always good to see that they do that. All right, next up. JMeister25 writes, when Bucky sees the frame picture of that boy, I gasped so hard. This show is fantastic, and I'm so impressed with every element. Marvel still strong. I mean, I'm telling you, look, they never cease to amaze me. You keep thinking, at what point will they run out of gas? It's like watching a fighter who's moving at 100 miles per hour, and then they get into the later rounds, and they're still moving at 100 miles per hour. It's like, how have you not slowed down? Feige never ceases to amaze me. It is crazy. They keep changing gears. They keep making it different. And again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're only one episode in. Maybe the rest of the series goes to shit. Who knows? But I gotta tell you, man, that first episode was pretty damn good. All right, next up. Bob Constructor Official writes, hey, John. I did a logo for the open spoiler discussion with the Falcon Winter Soldier logo style. I was wondering, where can I send it to you? Thank you. Well, listen, I love getting art from everybody. The best place to send any kind of art that you make, because believe me, I love getting the artwork you guys send me is always so great. But if you want to send something to me, you simply email it to me at John, that's John, at thejohncampeashow.com. John at thejohncampeashow.com, and I'll look forward to seeing it, Bob. Thanks for that, man. All right, next up. Ryan Lohner writes, I'm really confused. One of two. What decade had sitcoms like What decade had sitcoms like this? Okay, in seriousness, I had just one real issue. The whole reason this show exists is that these actors work so well together, and you keep them apart for the entire first episode. Other than that, I loved it. I think narratively, that was important. Remember, narrative comes first. Story comes first, right? And for this, the story is, remember what they said in therapy. They're setting the groundwork that Bucky has not been responding to Sam's text messages. I guess neither one of them are able to move on or whatever, but that's been a part of it. And for us to really get into this important character work of the therapy, the family struggles, the finances, all that kind of stuff, we needed time for that. And I think to give us that first episode where we're introduced to both of these characters, understanding where they are, lay that narrative groundwork. And a part of that narrative is that one has not been keeping in touch with the other. Apparently Sam's been reaching out to Buck. Buck has not been replying to him. And so, yeah, I agree. Well, part of me is I'm just looking forward to the dynamic of Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie on screen together in that chemistry. But story comes first. And I thought they really did serve the story. And Kevin Feige sends in a super chat. Thank you, Kevin Feige, for sending in a super chat badge in the live chat. Appreciate that, Mr. Feige, or whoever you are. Yeah, so I thought narratively it did make sense, Ryan, to be honest with you. But let's see. I don't want them to wait till like episode 4 to have these two guys. I have a feeling we'll see them come together in episode 2. Because I think what I'm guessing here is they're both going to be pissed that they took Steve's shield and gave it to some Walmart Captain America. And that will probably be what initially brings them together. I'm just guessing, but I don't know. We'll see where that goes. All right. Next up, Ismail Montoya writes, love your show. Thank you so much. Did you hear about Bucky having a sister? Any implications for potential character? By the way, I think Falcon Winter Soldier will get us into trouble for hypotheticals. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. We are going to get into, like I said, Sharon Carter is Galactus. I'm just telling you that rumor is coming. I don't think there's anything going on with the sister or anything like that. They would have been alive 100 years ago and they would have passed on by now. So no, I don't think they're going to go anywhere with that. I really don't. If they do, I'll be surprised. And of course it's possible. Everything is possible. But I think that was just him telling the story of Bucky Barnes. He had a sister. He had a mom and dad. But I think, yeah, they're all passed away, unless he's kind of referring to Sharon Carter. Maybe he considers Sharon Carter like a sister, but I doubt it. I think there's probably, that she's just probably dead at this point. All right. Or like really old and living in care. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Anton Riley writes, so John, if Bucky got pardoned, did Sam get pardoned too for his role in Civil War? Yeah, probably would have. Before Infinity War, Sam was technically a criminal. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I think, again, I think that's the same for everybody. But then again, so is Captain America, right? I mean, Captain America was the leader of that group. So yes, clearly actually Cap was probably pardoned even before Endgame. It would look like he was pardoned after Infinity War. I have a feeling all of them were pardoned after Infinity War. Because it was just, look at that. You guys were right, Cap. Turns out, if we didn't drive you guys apart, you may have been able to save the world, but because we had you guys divided, Thanos was able to succeed, and look on us. And so pardon for you, Captain America. So if Cap got pardoned, I got a feeling all of them got pardoned. That seems to make sense to me at any rate, Anton. All right, next up. Ryan writes, oh, and one more thing. I'm honestly convinced now that Feige and co. actually haven't decided yet whether Steve is dead. Oh, no. I think they decided 2 years ago. I think Kevin Feige knew 3 years ago exactly where and what Steve is right now. Like I back when he said, "Hey guys, I got the next 5 years planned out," I think he knew exactly where Steve is right now. Maybe he really is living on a base on the moon. I don't know. Or maybe they're just letting him keep his anonymity so he can just live out the rest of his life peacefully. But I think Feige knows where he has Captain America right now. He knows where Steve is. Whether or not he's planning to use him anytime soon is irrelevant. I think he knows where Steve is right now. But we'll find out. Maybe I'm wrong, Ryan. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? There he is. Ryan again writes, I'm calling that at the end of the season, Sam becomes the new Cap. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. While Torres is the new Falcon, maybe for a second season. I don't know. Is Falcon, listen, with Captain America, again, to me, Steve Rogers is Captain America, is Steve Rogers, is Captain America, is Steve Rogers. But I get the argument that he is the ultimate symbol of inspiration for America. He is Captain America. There's something about that. You can't say the same thing of the mantle of Falcon, right? I don't think there's that same impetus there. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, hey, listen, Ryan, when we come to the end of the season, we'll find out if you're right. And if you are, then big kudos to you. You're the first person to call it. All right, Patrick Conway writes, badass first episode. I do hope that this fake Cap is a genuine good man, just with a bit of a dark side. I have the feeling it is. Let me put it this way. I have a feeling he's not a villain. Just like Hayward was not a villain. He might be a giant dick who does all the wrong things, but and I'm just guessing here. I don't know. I don't really. All we've done is seen his stupid punchable Walmart face. So I don't know anything. We haven't even heard him speak yet. But my guess, pure speculation, pure guessing that I don't hold to at all, is that we're just going to find out he's not worthy. Maybe not a villain, but he's not worthy. And so we'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up, we've got Anton Riley who writes, John Campea, the new Captain America. I think being Canadian disqualifies me from that. But Captain Canada, maybe. But I think you probably should be an American to be Captain America. So I will politely decline the government's offer to make me the new Captain America. All right, Patrick writes, I hope Sam or Bucky do not become Captain America, but becoming a new symbol and carrying Steve's legacy together would subvert expectations. That's true. That's true. They can become new symbols of hope and inspiration for the country without calling themselves Captain America. I mean, personally, I'm all I think they will make him that. Herbert is saying in the live chat, John is Captain Planet. No. Don Cheadle already did that. Go look it up on YouTube. Don Cheadle, Captain Planet. You'll see what we're talking about. Anyway, I hope you're right, Patrick. I hope you're right. I don't think you're right. I don't think my hope is going to be rewarded. But I think the way you just laid it out is exactly what they should do. All right. Next up, we got Sam Fisher writes, really excited to see U.S. Agent. He's like a fascist slash nationalist version of Cap. Feels topical, and I hope they talk about the difference between nationalism and patriotism. Again, here's the thing. Never get too attached to, in the comics, they do this with this character, because that may set false expectations. I mean, maybe they do that. Because remember, the guy from this Department of Defense was talking about, yes, there are heroes to save the world, but we need a hero for America, right? So maybe they are. Maybe they are. All I'm saying is right now, don't get too attached to the idea that they're going to do with this character what they did in the comics, because those could be two very different things, but maybe they'll be very similar. We'll find out here soon, Sam. All right, Sam also writes, really cool that we got to see Rhodes, though it makes... Rhodey, although it makes sense because he is U.S. Air Force. And of course, it was a big event honoring Captain America. So Rhodey being in the armed forces and having been an Avenger with Captain America, it would only make sense. It would only make sense that he's there. It would only make sense that he's there. But you're right. It would have felt weird if he wasn't, especially because he was indeed military. All right, next up. Sammy writes, surprised that what we saw in the trailer was the opening scene. A fight over Tunisia, putting money on it would have been a final fight over the Grand Canyon. You're right. that felt like, okay, Disney put all their money for this show into this one big fight, so it's going to be the big final fight. Oh, they're opening the show with it. It was great to see, Sam. It was great to see. Sam also writes, also really cool, we get to see George St. Pierre as Batroc the Leaper from the Winter Soldier. I'm not going to kid you guys. I just about yelped because I had forgotten. I mean, they had confirmed a long time ago that George St. Pierre was going to be in this show. They confirmed that ages ago, right? But I had forgotten. And so when George, my all-time favorite UFC fighter, when George pops up there, I was like, yeah! I was just so happy. And to see him kicking ass, and I love that he survives. So we're going to see more of him. We're going to see more of him. He'll be back, man. He'll be back. All right, Nick C. writes, I feel as if the character development for Bucky and Sam has been needed for quite some time, and I love how these shows are giving it to us finally. Yeah, again, it was, look, story comes first. And now the story really needs, with Falcon and Bucky being front and center, it needs us to understand these characters more and to give us this depth. And I love that they dedicated basically the entire first episode to just all of that. Here's where Bucky is in his life right now. Here's what's going on in his head. Here's where Sam is in his life right now and what's going on in his head and the things that he's struggling with. And they give us a whole episode to do that, and that is going to pay off big time as we move forward. Nick C. also writes, that conversation between Rhodey and Sam was great given their history in Civil War. The camaraderie between soldiers was special. Yeah. I mean, because these guys fought on opposite sides of Civil War. They even engaged each other in combat in Civil War. But obviously they came back together. They fought alongside each other in Endgame. So yeah, it was a great moment. And while I think that might be it for Don Cheadle in the show, I do hope we see him one more time to have another conversation with Sam, giving him some guidance and wisdom. That would be nice to see. I would like to see that. All right, Nick also writes, I feel bad for Sam. The guy hands off the shield because he felt it should only be held by Steve, and it's only a matter of time before Sam accepts his place. I mean, again, it's all in the way that Anthony Mackie played that scene, right? You could see the pain in his face. Like, I didn't want that responsibility. This is only for Steve. Only to see the government just pluck it and drop it into the hands of some hammer-faced Walmart, version of Captain America. The pain and the frustration he must have been felt was probably crazy. And it was wonderful to watch, man. It was wonderful to watch. All right, next up. Coop TV writes, John, I just saw a love story. Great work. Oh, my movie trailer's a love story. Again, hey, I will take a moment to plug my own thing here. If you'll give me a second. My movie trailer's a love story, which is available now. If you live in the US or the UK, you guys can just go to Amazon. It's available on Amazon for you guys. Just go and go onto Amazon and search for Movie Trailers, A Love Story, and you should be able to find it there. If you live anywhere else other than the US or the UK, it's available worldwide as well, but on Vimeo, just go to vimeo.com/on-demand/movie trailers, and you guys can go and watch it there. And thank you, my friend, for giving me an opportunity to plug it, and thank you for watching my movie, dude. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, let's move on here. Next up, we've got Casey McNatt, who writes, it is sad when the government continues to lie to these heroes. Sam turns the shield over, and it didn't take a week until they give it to somebody else. I know, but there were probably people in the government just waiting for that. They were probably just waiting for that. It's a great PR moment, whatever. But yeah, like, did they even consult Avengers? Like, does the government expect the Avengers to accept that Captain America in? Have they given, is there some other new formula of the super soldier serum out there that they gave him? Or is he just another hack guy? Or is he like he is in the comics, who's a U.S. agent? So I don't know. A lot of questions have got to be answered there. All right. Jay Meister writes, every single frame and scene with Bucky was effing brilliant. I agree. Everything from the assassination scene in his flashback to his therapy scene with the psychiatrist, to the taking out the corrupt or getting arrested, the corrupt government official in the parking lot, to the date scene, the lunch scene with the old man, the finding out that he was the one who killed the old man's son. I mean, every single scene, J. Meister, was absolutely brilliant. All right, next up. Chaz McGill writes, why can't Sam just get the money from Pepper? In Spider-Man 2, she donated a huge to the cause Aunt May was using Spider-Man for. Kevin Feige doesn't miss. I mean, it could be Sam is just proud. He's not looking for a handout from the people he knows. I mean, and listen, it would be too much of a convenient little thing. Now, obviously, I'm sure if Sam got on the phone and called Pepper and said, I need some money, I'm sure Pepper would give it to him. But would Sam get on the phone to ask Pepper? Or would he want to get a legit loan from a bank? Would he want to earn it a different way? And I think it has more to do with pride than anything. He may feel it's not appropriate to do that. Or, for all we know, maybe we'll find out a little bit later that Pepper is kind of pissed off at the Avengers. Because you guys, my husband's dead. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's what they're doing, but there's still a lot of information there we don't have, but I think it has more to do with pride. Sam is probably not just looking for a handout from somebody he knows. That's my guess, but maybe there's more to it. We'll find out. All right. That was Chaz. Next up, Isaiah Campbell writes, my only minor complaint / plot hole is why couldn't Bucky just call Cap on the phone? After Endgame, we know he's not dead. Maybe we get that answer later. I don't know. It could very well be maybe Cap's dead. I mean, just because he was alive at the end of Endgame doesn't mean he was still alive 3 months later. It also could be that Sam and Bucky agreed that nobody can know that Steve is here and he needs to be left alone. Like if that's what Cap wants, if Cap just says, I just want to now live in peace. I just want to be whatever. I just came here at the very moment that I disappeared from your lives. I came back here right now to let you guys know what happened and to pass this on to you. And now I'm going to go off and live the rest of my days in peace. And maybe Bucky and Sam both were like, yep, then we're honoring that. We are never going to let anybody know he's here, and we're never going to bring our problems to him. He's at this, I don't care how old did they say he was at this point? Like in his 90s? I mean, I don't know. So we'll have to see. Okay. That was Isaiah. Next up, we've got Casey McNatt, who writes, the end was a little cringe. I don't that stand. Let me try this again. The end was a little cringe. I don't that stand in Captain America. Just made one of the goofiest faces. I'm also surprised we had no Zemo yet. Again, this first episode, story comes first. Right? They introduced the Flag Smashers, but this was about getting on board with the characters. And that, I really believe that we're going to realize after episode 4 or 5 and after the show's over, we're going to realize, oh my God, that first episode was so key. So yeah, I like the fact that they didn't feel the need to rush into, here's Sharon Carter, here's Bucky and Sam getting into a fight side by side. Here's Baron Zemo going, mwahaha, I shall have my revenge. And like, I'm glad they didn't feel the need to rush into that. And I probably would have guessed that maybe they would have. But I think what they gave us was a lot richer. And again, it was investing. They're putting coins into a bank right now that's going to pay off later on. And I think it was probably the right move for them to do. But we'll see. All right. Nikki Andrews writes, how did Bucky's date not know he was the Winter Soldier when there was a manhunt for him in Civil War? That's true. Bucky is sexy. It's a face you wouldn't forget. True, but that was in her time frame 6 or 7 years ago. And what is she? 27? So she would have just stopped being a teenager. It was a long time ago. It was many, many years ago. Not just the 5-year blip, but it was a couple of years also that removed from the end of Infinity War and when Civil War happened. So it would have been a number of years. And I don't know, maybe that girl's like 23. I don't know. That girl was cute, by the way, though. I am partial to cute Asian girls, obviously. But Maybe she was 23, so she was like 15 at the time when Bucky was a wanted man. So I mean, I don't know. You got to keep that into consideration too. All right, next up. Calum Fadian writes, fantastic first episode. That opening action sequence was glorious. It was incredible. The Bucky stuff made this episode for me, though. Him and the therapist was so well written and shot. Not the Notebook. Oh, that was so good. Oh, not the Notebook. You know, that's very passive aggressive, Doctor. You don't talk, I write. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. What do you want, Bucky? Peace. That's bullshit. You're a terrible therapist. That whole conversation was amazing. I loved it. And I also loved when she said, give me your phone. Do you guys notice he had the old style flip phone? It's like not even one of the new modern flip phones. It was like one of the old style flip phones. So yeah, I just thought that whole scene was terrific. I really, really did. I thought it was great. All right. Let's see here. Gabe writes, what a badass opening scene, sets up a great emotional arc for Bucky. No, it absolutely does. They set so much stuff up. They gave us great action. They set up this incredible emotional thread with the old man and his son that Bucky killed. You know that's going to pay off later down the line. We get to understand the trials and troubles and obstacles that Sam is facing right now in his life on a very personal level while trying to be a hero for the government, doing government contract stuff like that. I mean, it just laid so much foundational stuff. It is crazy how much they accomplished in just 40 minutes. It's crazy how much they accomplished in just 40 minutes. It was really, really well done. All right, next up. Termite 30 writes, when Red Wing got damaged, my first thought was, is Sam about to finally get a real Falcon and a telepathic link with it? But then we see him repairing the drone, LOL. Yeah, I don't know that they're going to go. I don't think they're going to get him a literal Falcon in this, but it was kind of neat seeing him sitting there trying to repair it. Now, I hope they don't go the way of, oh, suddenly Sam is a magical electrical engineer and he can create all this stuff himself. I really hope they don't do that. But seeing, a pilot doing maintenance on his own gear, nothing wrong with that. I thought that was pretty cool, Termite, but it was really neat going in Tunisia, sitting around and just like fixing his stuff up. I thought that was a nice little, again, to quote Robert, that was a really nice little moment of verisimilitude. It was a nice little moment of verisimilitude. That's how I'll put it. All right. Next up. Sam Fisher writes, I love what this show is doing with PTS and the discussion of soldiers with severe post-traumatic syndrome, hating the quiet life and sleeping on the floor is so, etc. So excited. I mean, yeah, that was the one thing I noticed because that reminded me a lot of some other movies that we saw, where we've seen other movies do that, where like a former soldier sleeping on the floor. Or like Tom Hanks coming back off the island in Castaway, sleeping on the floor. And we see Buck sleeping on the floor. And he is dealing with nightmares. And he is wrestling with the guilt that is flooding on him for a century, almost a century of the stuff that he had done. And he's trying to deal with that in this new world. A warrior who has no battles to fight. I mean, they're doing so much great dramatic setup. It's just kind of crazy. All right, next up. We've got Gabe Campbell writes, just like every WandaVision episode, when it ends, I just want more. Oh yeah, when that thing ended and the guy with the stupid brick face comes out, I'm Captain America, everybody. When that guy comes out and you just want to punch him in the face, and then it ends, I'm like, wait, oh. Now, granted, at least it was longer than the average WandaVision episode, and I think they'll continue to be longer episodes. But, you're right. When that thing ended, I'm like, I got to wait a week and a half to see a new episode. Because, and Disney did this to me with WandaVision as well. They sent me the first couple of episodes early, but they didn't do that for the rest of the series. After I got to watch the first couple of episodes, it was like I had to wait every week. And so while it was great that I got to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier early, that's great. When it ended, I'm like, oh, wait, I don't have to just wait a week. I now got to wait a week and a half to see another episode. Damn it. So anyway, yes, but I can't wait to see the next episode. Santez Henderson writes, how do heroes earn a living? They open GoFundMes to afford their lifestyles. Maybe Peter Parker has the right idea to hide his identity. I loved it. 4 out of 5. Again, I just thought for a first episode, for episode 1, that's setting up the story, I thought it was fantastic. As good as like that old NBC show Heroes episode 1? No, that's Heroes episode 1 is maybe the greatest first episode to a TV show I've ever seen. It might be the best episode 1 of any show ever. I just love episode 1 of Heroes. But it was very, very solid. And I did like the way they did that. So I was like, yeah, what did they... Hey, Sam, set up a GoFundMe. I don't know. Maybe that'll be the same for him as trying to go to Pepper for help. I'm not really sure. All right, Sam writes, and I think Bucky not being able to live a quiet life and stay out of the fight is what's going to lead him to work with Sam. I have a feeling that, and I don't know this, I'm just guessing. I have a feeling it's going to be about Sam and him reconnecting. Like, I think Bucky maybe finally will return Sam's call and say, how did you give Steve's shield to the government? And then he's going to have to explain to him, I didn't. I thought I was giving it to the museum, blah, blah. I don't know. I ultimately think that announcement of a new, brick-faced Walmart Captain America is going to be what ultimately gets Sam and Bucky to rejoin forces and maybe go on from there. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll see where that goes. All right. JMeister25 writes, John, with a show like this, sit closer to your TV, crank the volume, and you'll be convinced you're in the movie theater. Yeah, that's not quite the same. It's not quite the same. But I'll tell you, look, I'm fine watching this as a TV show. It's just, again, watching that big opening action sequence as they're flying through the air and all that kind of stuff. That kind of crap was meant to be seen on a movie screen, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I got to watch it on my 75-inch TV, and that was great. But that was meant to be seen on a movie screen. That should have been seen on a movie screen. But yes, it was really, really fun to watch. All right, next up. We got Baxter Kirkdoffer writes and sends in like $20. Thank you, Baxter. Appreciate that, man. What if Bucky never gets to tell him that he was the one who killed his son? I think he will, but we'll see. Because Zemo kills the old man. Zemo kills the old man. And we get a scene of Bucky standing over the old man's grave, telling him he killed his son. A dark theory, I know. Oh my God. Well, if you think about it, honestly, there is nobody in the world right now that would really hurt Bucky if they died. I mean, yeah, he knows Sam. Fine. He knows his therapist. Fine. But there's not really anybody that he can lose. Other than this old man, he seems to have a genuine relationship with this old man. So I don't know. You know what? I know you're just kidding. But that old man dying, maybe at the hands of Zemo, maybe at the hands of somebody else. Maybe Batroc makes his return. I don't know. But it's not the craziest theory. It's not the craziest theory, Baxter. Let's see where they go with that. All right, thanks a lot for that, dude. All right, JMeister25 just sends in a super chat. Thank you, JMeister. Casey McNatt writes, one of two. Well, John, it was only a matter of time. Let the theories that one of the Flag Smashers is a mutant. You know it's coming. LOL, just kidding. In all seriously. No, you're right. Was there a part 2? Yeah, part 2. Though, do you think that the Flag Smasher could have a secret soldier serum in him? Maybe, or he's just another superpowered being. But you're not wrong, Casey. You're not wrong. I have already seen, it's not a big movement, but I have already seen at least one tweet of somebody suggesting that the Flag Smasher wearing the mask who kicked the guy across the street was a mutant. Already seen it. I'm not saying a lot of people think that, but at least one person does. So we're going to start, every time somebody pops up that's got any kind of enhanced strength, speed, or anything, everybody will continue to say it must be mutants until finally Kevin Feige does introduce mutants. But that's coming, and they're not about to do it in Falcon and Winter Soldier. At least I don't think they will. But it's coming. It's coming. All right, next up. Santez Henderson writes, Bucky's torment killed me. He really does remember every victim. How does he live with that? Also, Sam has to feel awful being duped like that. Oh, Sam, again, the brilliance of that scene was you could see the pain on his face. When they announced the new Captain America, Sheriff Derp and the brick-faced Captain America from Walmart, you could tell he was in agony over that. But going back to Bucky, like, he doesn't just have to live with the fact that he killed Tony's parents. He probably killed thousands of people's parents. Not kidding, thousands. It has to be ridiculously difficult. I can't even imagine. There's a reason he's sleeping on the floor and waking up and screaming in cold sweats. And I hope they get more into that. I just, MT in the live chat is saying, the flag smasher dude is obviously Mephisto. Didn't take long. Didn't take long. Well said, MT. Well said. All right. Anyway, let's move on here. Jonathan Vigoa writes, I'm going to say the unpopular opinion, but I didn't like this episode. It felt bloated. Nothing really happened. Falcon gave up the shield, and now there's a new Captain America, blah, blah, blah. Something about the Flag Smashers. Isn't a first episode supposed to draw you in? Feels like safe MCU. Well, listen, man, here's the beautiful thing about these stories, dude. Art is subjective, and that means it's going to hit us all in very different, unique ways. And just because a lot of people liked it doesn't mean you need to. And if it didn't work for you, there's nothing wrong with that. It didn't work for you. That's how it works, man. That's art. That's art. Now, obviously, I disagree, but just because I disagree, that doesn't devalue or in any way undermine your opinion of it. But for me, I thought it was nearly perfect. Nearly. They set us up with character. Now, look, I'm sure there are some people out there who's like, it's a comic book movie. I want laser eyes and I want this and this and this all the time. And that's not what this was. This was character development. This was story. This was narrative. And it's just set the stage. And I thought it did it very, very well. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And if it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you. Maybe episode 2 or 3 will. Maybe the whole show won't. Who knows? But there's nothing wrong with the fact that you didn't like it. So don't be swayed by other people's opinions. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it, and that's perfectly fine. All right, next up. Michael Hamilton writes, government did Falcon dirty. Yes, they did. He donated Cap's shield out of the goodness of his heart, and they go and do that? Really? Oh, I know. But really, does it really seem like something the government wouldn't do? I'm not just talking about the government in the MCU. I just mean the government in general. Would that really surprise us if that had happened in real life, Michael? I don't think so. I don't think we would have been surprised, but you're right. They totally did him dirty. They did the country dirty. They did the legacy of Captain America dirty by bestowing it on some dude's face that looks like a toilet bowl plunger. So I don't know. It is what it is. Okay. Anyway, next up, Casey McNatt writes, we already got that. Okay. Patrick Conway writes, after this episode, WandaVision and soon probably Hawkeye, I'm 100% on the big bad of Phase 4 after Thanos will be the hero's trauma. I mean, that has become a popular theme, but listen, they already kind of touched on that. One of the really great things about Iron Man 3, and I know not everybody loves Iron Man 3, but one of the great things about Iron Man 3 was that they actually made a big deal out of the fact that Tony now had to deal with his traumatic stress. I mean, he's just a mortal earthling. He went through a wormhole in space into the depths of another universe and saw an invading alien army coming that would probably wipe out all of humanity. And he battled alien, and there was fallout from that. There was repercussions from that. And we're now seeing that MCU moving in that phase of saying, hey, these heroes are people. And they have to deal with the fallout and the damage and the repercussions of a lot of the things that actually happen to them. And I think it's really good that they're doing it. And I think it's, I think it's really sharp. I think it's really, really sharp that they're doing it. Okay. Next up, where are we at? Patrick. No, that was Patrick. Benjamin GL writes, man, the character drama, I love it. Absolutely. The fact that they really took at least the first episode to hone in on the character development was a really, really good move that will pay off. Scott Brett writes, I don't have any evidence to prove this, but as I watched the episode, I got the sneaking suspicion that the new Captain America might be involved with the Flag Smashers. I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. That would not be an uncommon trope. It wouldn't be an uncommon trope for a show like this to do. So that is something. Look, maybe he's a snake like he is in the comics. Maybe he is truly just a guy who just wants to be the new Captain America, but he's just unworthy. Maybe he's evil. Maybe he's not. We'll find out. But your theory, Scott, you could be 100% on the money about that. I mean, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, but I don't see a real strong argument against why that could be the case. So let's see where they go with that. All right. Benjamin GL writes, he tips in like $20. Thank you, Benjamin. Appreciate that, man. I think the old Japanese guy will have already figured out before Bucky tells him, and will have already forgiven him because it was him and now he knows what happened. And it was the Winter Soldier, not Bucky. Maybe. But just because you meet somebody who is, a guy, would you naturally go to the place of, 8 years ago, my son was in a total foreign country somewhere and was killed in the thing. Would he really figure that out? Maybe. Maybe the old guy's just waiting for Bucky to come clean. Maybe we get that scene, Benjamin, where Bucky kind of breaks down and tells him, I'm the guy who did this and blah, blah, blah. And he puts his hand on his shoulder and says, I already know. And I've already forgiven you. And then we cry and everybody's reaching for the tissue papers for unusual reasons. Their tissue, all that kind of stuff to wipe the tears and the snotty noses away. That could be it. It would make a powerful moment, Benjamin. It would make a powerful moment. Thanks for sending that in, man. All right. Next up, Benjamin also writes, 70 million Snyder Cut Mother Box, 70 million Snyder Cut Mother Box looks like a video game, Marvel TV show, bro. I need an IMAX screen. I'm not trying to draw any negative comparisons to any other movies. Just to say that, this looked amazing. It looked amazing. But remember, it was just one scene, right? It was just one quick scene. Let's not forget that Snyder Cut had thousands of special effects scenes, right? That was a very good sky chase scene, but it was the only big action sequence of the entire episode. So let's not compare apples to spaceships. They're two different things. But yes, it looked amazing. It did look incredible. All right. Sam Fisher writes, I had a feeling the old man was the father when he mentioned the son and we saw Buck's face, but the scene where Bucky comes to his door just confirmed it. Yeah, listen, like I said earlier, I had no idea. I did not catch it at all. It went right over my head. My first thought was old war buddy. Somebody who knows who he is. And even when he was in the cafe, in the diner and talking about his son, I still didn't connect the dots. And I'm usually pretty good about connecting those dots, but I didn't this time. I totally did not connect the dots. And like I said, I'm awfully glad that I didn't, because the payoff for me, getting that moment when he opens the door and he sees the picture on there, and now we know what Bucky has already known. Oh my God, so powerful, man. So powerful. All right. We're going to take one more question, guys, and then we're going to take just a short break. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes already, and I already did a 2-hour show today, so I just want to make sure I don't push my voice too much. So we're going to do one more question, then we're going to take a 3 or 4 minute break. All right. Anthony M.R. writes, Old Man Steve living on the moon. In the meantime, he encounters the destroyer of worlds, Galactus Confirmed. And I'm telling you, Sharon is going to be Galactus. I'm telling you, that theory is coming. Everybody's going to run with it. Sharon Carter's Galactus. They said Steve might be on the moon. The moon is in space. Galactus is in space. Galactus Confirmed. Yeah, that's coming, man. Don't even joke. You know that's coming. All right, guys. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take just 3 or 4 minutes here. Going to refill my drink, rest my voice for just a couple of minutes, give you guys a chance to run to use the bathroom. Talk amongst yourselves. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back and picking up with more of your thoughts, opinions, insights, and questions. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I took a little bit of a break there. Let's now keep on rolling with your guys' submissions. We're going to keep going here with Anthony. Oh, we already had Anthony MR, so let's move on from there. And we go to Sam Fisher, who writes, the whole base on the moon thing feels like a reference to the blue area of the moon. I also think they're going to steal the shield and get a guard fired again. Yeah, so maybe that may happen again. Like, not only do they steal the wings for Falcon in the one movie, now they'll probably steal the shield again. I think they'll actually, at some point, they're going to come into physical conflict. Or maybe they'll end up working alongside this new Captain America. Maybe they'll really subvert expectations. They'll end up working alongside this new Captain America. Although, I don't really think that's going to happen. But it's possible. There might be more to the moon thing. I'm just not going to be surprised if we find out there is actually some kind of base on the moon. We'll find out. All right. Carl Wolf writes, Falcon is Uncle Sam. That's synonymous with Captain America. I remember when they first get said, Uncle Sam, it's like, well, if that's not America, if Uncle Sam isn't America, I don't know what is. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually transpires and turns into anything, Carl. We'll find out if they actually go somewhere with that. Next up, JMeister25 writes, John, I called it post-Endgame climate. Let's dig deep and continue to be real and honest about that. I'm not quite sure what it is you're referring to, JMeister. If you're saying let's continue to dig in and about like what is the post, blip climate, then agree. Other than that, I'm not quite sure exactly what we're talking about. But it is really neat seeing them addressing like the world has changed, and we'll see how much that impacts what's going on. Obviously, the Flag Smashers is a part of that. Benjamin GL sends in like a $50 super chat. Thank you, Benjamin. I appreciate that very much, man. Thank you for supporting our channel on that level, dude. Man, the moment the old guy at the bar talked about his son, it clicked. And Bucky's nightmare made sense. Hashtag nightmare confirmed, by the way. Not just Mephisto. It's also nightmare. Also, no action scene will ever be more intense than Bucky at the door. I genuinely couldn't tell if he would tell. I couldn't tell if he would tell or not. Oh, you're talking about when he's at the door of the old man. Oh, yeah. I didn't know what he was going to do. I was just like, when we see the picture at the little shrine, I couldn't breathe for a second. I'm like, what is about to happen? What's about to happen? Is he about to have this breakthrough moment and tell him this? Will he not? And then, of course, he backed away from it and said, I owed you for lunch or whatever. So they're going to come back to that later on. But you're right. The tension, the drama, everything that was in that moment was so rich. It was a wonderfully executed moment. It was an absolutely wonderfully executed moment. The intensity of that scene of him just standing there, realizing he's the one who killed his son. I mean, that's as tense as you'll feel in any action scene. It was beautifully done, Benjamin. Great observation. All right, next up. CJ Legend 89 writes, Hey, John, seeing Rhodes in the first episode got me thinking we may end Falcon and Winter Soldier with an end credit scene in episode 6 that leads into Armor Wars. What do you think? Over, under 50%? I will go under 50% on that. Just because he's there. First of all, we are getting way ahead of ourselves. We just had episode 1. It's not time to start speculating what is the post-credit scene going to be at the end of episode 6. And remember, we've got 4 or 5 or 6 MCU things, 7 or 8 MCU things coming out before Armor Wars ever comes out. So it would be awfully far out for them to do a post-credit scene for Armor Wars. Just because Rhodey is there, I don't think so. But now I'm not saying it's like under 5%. That it's possible, but I'm going to take well under 50%. I'm going to take well under 50% on that. All right, next up, Kim Nguyen writes, Marvel knows a random guy as Cap will be hated. What if U.S. Agent is actually a good guy, tries to be as righteous as Steve, but just isn't capable? Yeah, like I said, one of the many possibilities here is that he's just a guy who's just not worthy. Like, maybe he's got all the right intentions. Maybe he really does want to, hold up the honor and legacy of Captain America, but he just ain't Steve Rogers. And he's just not Sam Wilson. and he's just not Bucky Barnes. Maybe well-meaning, maybe well-intentioned, but he just can't be Captain America. I mean, that's one of the possibilities. There are many, many other possibilities, but that is absolutely one of them. And it's going to be interesting to see if they go. And maybe his derp brick face is just an unfortunate thing that he's got. I'm sure the actor playing it is a very, very handsome dude, by the way. I'm sure he's a very handsome dude. It's just the way the mask was on his face and the way he was doing his face just made him look like brick suck face and something like that. Anyway. Okay, let's move on. That was Kim. Next up is Benjamin GL, who sends in another $50 super chat. Again, Benjamin, thank you so much for supporting our channel on that level, man. Seriously, thank you. Thanos' motivation in Endgame was stupid. He should have been like, bringing them back will cause the chaos and death I tried to prevent. I can't allow that to happen. Worst part of Endgame was bad guy was different Thanos. Let me try this again. Worst part of Endgame was bad guy was different Thanos. This would have helped that. I'm not... Okay, I think it's what you're saying. Well, first of all, let's try to keep the conversation to Falcon and Winter Soldier, not Endgame or anything like that. But I will say this. In as much, and I said this all while Endgame was coming out too, make no mistake, Thanos was evil. Thanos was evil. He wasn't some noble guy on some noble quest. He saw himself as that. He saw himself as his cause is so righteous to try to save the universe that culling half of the population of the universe is worth it. Is worth it. You got to not lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, he was still very, very evil. And they did several things throughout those things to show he's not just some well-meaning guy. He actually is underneath it all. He's evil, who deludes himself into thinking he's righteous. I mean, that's why Gamora hated him so much. She knew he was a monster. She knew he was a monster. And at the end of the day, like when he was killing Loki, that wasn't about bringing balance to the universe. That was him just being sadistic and vicious. When he, murdered Heimdall in front of Thor, that wasn't about bringing balance to the universe. That was about him being a vile, sadistic, evil tyrant. And at the end of Endgame, when it comes out, you know what? F it. I'm just going to wipe everybody out. I'm just going to wipe y'all out. And I'm going to enjoy this, he says. I'm going to do this and I'm going to enjoy it. Like they showed the true colors that he was a vile, vile evil who saw himself as a hero. So that's something I think a lot of us have to keep in mind. A lot of us have to keep that in mind. So anyway, there's that. And again, Benjamin, thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level, man. It's very, very generous of you. Thank you, dude. Anyway, next up. William Homer writes, greetings from Scotland. Torres in the comics is the new Falcon when Sam becomes Captain America. Also, Rhodey will have an Air Force salary. But remember, he's got a contract. He has contract work. He said that specifically in the show. He's not in the military right now. He is a contractor. And that's what he tried to say to the bankers. Like, I've got contracts. That shows I have money coming in, but he just didn't have it. The history of it yet. He didn't meet the technicalities that they needed and all that kind of stuff. So that's important to keep in mind. And again, what they do in the comic books is not necessarily what they'll do here. And again, I just don't see in the comics how that Falcon is a mantle that can be passed on. So I don't think they're going to do that. I think he'll become an important character in the thing, but I don't think he'll become the next Falcon. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he will. I'm just saying right now, if I had to guess, I'm guessing he's not. All right. Thank you for writing in from Scotland, William. All right. Sam Fisher writes, 1 of 3. Regarding my think about U.S. agent being fastest, there's a really great speech Cap gives when fighting the villain Nuke in his Rick Remender runabout. How patriotism taken to the extreme is fascism. And when Nuke blames immigrants, Steve says, I'm the son of immigrants. I hope that speech makes it into this show. Maybe, but there's no Captain America. to give that speech. That speech coming from almost anybody else maybe might sound a little bit more hollow. Coming from Captain America, I think it would come, or Steve Rogers, I think that would carry more weight with it. But again, Sam, we're getting into building a theory on top of another theory. Theory. This Captain America is a fascist. Okay. Taking that theory as fact, let's build another theory. If he's fascist, maybe it'll lead to this. So let's just be careful about building a theory on top of another theory, because that can really take us in weird directions. But again, yeah, a speech like that coming from Cap would be moving. I don't know if it would carry the same weight coming from Bucky or coming from Sam. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe the yes, maybe no. We'll see. All right. Next up. Delusional Patriots fan, that's me right now, writes, Isaiah Bradley's character and his comic history adds a little different perspective to the prototype shields we see in Captain America in the first Avenger. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember off the top of my head which one Isaiah Bradley is. I don't know, so I can't really address that. But I'm sure there are a lot of people watching right now who do understand what you're talking about. All right, Kevin Feige, just sent in a $2 chap again. Thank you for that, Kevin Feige. Next up, Benjamin GL writes, damn, did Kevin Feige visit Wuhan? Because by the time the MCU is done catching up with the 5-year time skip, it'll be 2023 in real life. No, you know what's funny? We had a discussion about that. About how if you follow, they probably have a plan. Like Feige, when they brought in the 5-year blip, they probably had a plan about how the movies will catch up to real time. And that at some point we'll be at the place. And hey, it just so happens that there was a global pandemic that delayed everything by at least a year. So that might come into play. So maybe we'll even be caught up sooner than what they were originally planning on. That's definitely possible too. All right. Next up, Timothy Platt writes, I want to know why Lieutenant Torres thought it was a good idea to politely try to arrest someone he just saw send a dude flying across. I said the exact same thing to Ann and my buddy Ryan. It's like, listen, dude, you have a gun. Why would you walk to with reaching distance of this other guy? Why would you do that? Even if it wasn't a guy that you just saw kick another man flying across the street, even if that's not the case, if you've got a gun, you stay at a distance. You tell the guy to get on the ground, put his hands behind his back. You don't walk up to him into his, hey, so I got you. Yeah, like it was, for a smart military guy, that dude was pretty much an idiot. That guy was pretty much an idiot, and he deserved to have his face kicked. Maybe that'll learn him. Maybe that'll learn him a lesson. Getting his face kicked. Had to happen. All right, next up. Benjamin GL also writes, I think Isaiah Bradley will get the shield in the comics. He was a black guy whose super soldier serum was tested on before Cap and had legacy buried. I'm not aware of that. I'm usually very much up to on all the characters and things, but I was not aware of that. So maybe that's why I didn't grab onto the Isaiah Bradley thing there. So I was not aware. Maybe that comes into play. That is something about it I wasn't aware of. So I just learned something on there. Thank you for that, Benjamin. We'll keep our eye on it. Maybe that's what they'll do. I mean, I don't know if they will, but it's something that could be a possibility. Evelyn writes, Bucky's rule number 3 was funny. That smile. What was rule number 3 again? What was rule number 3? Rule number 1, don't do anything illegal. Rule number 2, don't hurt anyone. What exactly was rule number 3? Guys in the chat, if you can help remind me. What was rule number 3? It was make amends the rule? Like just have to actually say the speech? Make amends? I guess so. So I actually had to give that little bit of a speech. Okay, so yeah. Number 1, don't break the law. Number 2, don't hurt anyone. Number 3, make amends. So he goes, I am Bucky Barnes. I am not the Winter Soldier. And part of my thing is to make amends. Okay, so that's the third thing to give the speech. It'll be funny to see if he gives that same speech to Sam. I don't know why he'd give it to Sam, but it'll be interesting to see if he gives the same speech to Sam. All right. Donnie writes, I can't believe Iron Man was in the first scene of this episode. Har har. If you're talking about, actually, I don't know what you're talking about. That Your joke, Donnie, has gone over my head. Your joke has gone over my head. All right, Dirk Walker writes, we really need a show set during the blip. That would be interesting, but is it really necessary? Is it necessary? Like, can't we now move on from the blip? You know, the events of Thanos and the repercussions of what Thanos did, it's time. I feel like the MCU as a whole needs to do what the individual characters are doing, getting it behind them. I feel like the MCU needs to get all of that behind it, just like the characters are working to do that right now. So I don't actually know if I would want them to do, I don't know that I would want them to do a show set during the blip. I mean, maybe prior to WandaVision, that might have been interesting, but now that we've kind of moved past it, and maybe prior to Far From Home, but now that we've had Far From Home, now that we've had WandaVision, now that we have Falcon and Winter Soldier, is it really time to go back? And I'm not really sure that I think it is. Anyway, that's just me. Anton writes, Captain North America. There you go. I can't be Captain America. Make me Captain North America. James Hoffman writes, I wonder if the show will be the character arc of Sam becoming Captain America by the end. I think that's what they're doing. I don't want either Bucky or Sam or anybody else to be Captain America. I want them to be their own characters and become the new symbols of hope and inspiration. Steve Rogers is Captain America to me, but Anton, it seems like that is the way they're going. All right, James Hoffman writes, I wonder if the show will be the character. Oh, sorry, that was James. Next up, Benjamin GL writes, man, if Fake Cap is framed as a villain like Hayward, I'm going to be livid. Why did he even get arrested? What law did he even break in the weirdest plot choice? Again, we're not here to talk about WandaVision, but he got arrested because, as Jimmy Woo pointed out to him, he was breaking codes of the Sokovian Accords. He was breaking the codes of the Sokovian Accords, and that's why he got arrested at the end of WandaVision. Next up, Graybeard Comics writes, Sam and Bucky, this episode was like us returning from service. No money, tough sleeping, counseling, dating as an adult, not understanding civilians. I mean, yeah, like I myself, other than cadets, I never served in any sort of armed forces or law enforcement. So that's not something I can say I can relate with. But it sounds very true to the stories that I have heard. And so it's kind of neat hearing from people who have served in the military that there was at least, while maybe none of our military people had super high-tech, Stark technology, wings flying through the air, I'm hearing from some people who have served in the military saying there's something that rings kind of true about what Sam and Bucky are going through. And I think that's great. Again, I can't speak to that myself. That's not my experience, but it is kind of cool hearing that from other people who have. All right, next up, Lady M05 writes, did you notice that the director is from Canada? I did not, but I'm not surprised. Kevin Feige likes to use a lot of us Canadians. Likes to use a lot of Canadians in this stuff, getting up in here. All right, thanks for that, lady. Next up, Just Plain Steve writes, Cap didn't take his broken shield with him to return the stones. So the one he gave Sam was the new shield. Do you think his old shield may come into play, or have they just moved on from it? I don't remember that. I'd have to go back and take a look at Endgame when he does go back in time. I just assumed he did take his shield with him. I thought he did. And I assume he would have gotten it fixed. But I didn't notice that. So if you're right, and he went back without the shield, well, he probably just would have grabbed the shield at some point too, just like they grabbed the stones. But then doesn't grabbing the shield create another problem in there anyway? They were so unlogical with the way they were dealing with the multiple streamlines and time and all that kind of stuff. They were completely illogical with it. But that being said, that is an interesting question, Just Plain. I'm going to have to go back and take a look myself to see if he did take the shield with him, because I don't remember. I just assumed he did, but I don't remember that. I have to go take a look at that. Thanks for putting that on my radar. All right. CGM Show writes, I love stories where a character starts off not thinking they're worthy of something. You get to go on that journey of them believing in themselves. I mean, no, that's always true. It's a common trope. It's done a lot, but it's done a lot for a reason, because those are inspiring stories. Somebody believing in themselves is, whether it's a movie about chess, or whether it's a movie about the Olympics, or whether it's a movie about a superhero, Somebody believing in themselves is the first hurdle that's got to be overcome. And sometimes it's the greatest hurdle that has to be overcome. And maybe that's the story that we're getting right now with Sam. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's all a misdirect. We'll see. It's All Groovy sends in $20. Thank you, It's All Groovy. I appreciate that, man. And It's All Groovy writes, at the end of Endgame, you could tell that when Cap and Bucky were saying goodbye, Bucky knew Cap was not coming back. Do you think that we may see a flashback of Cap connecting with Bucky in the past, letting him know what happened? Maybe. Of course, that would require Chris Evans being there, and I think that's a possibility. I think there is look, I said it earlier today, I will say it again. I think there's a possibility Sam needs to go and find him, but I also think there's definitely a possibility we may get a scene with Bucky. I'm not putting any money on that. I'm not saying, count on it. No, I'm not putting any money on that. But do I believe, Groovy, that is definitely a possibility? It absolutely is. It absolutely is. There was no more important figure in the life of Bucky Barnes. I mean, yes, Sam knew Cap for a couple of years. He knew Cap for a couple of years. Nobody knew Cap like Bucky did. And Bucky has literally never had a more important person in his life than Cap. Or Steve, we should say. So for them to have some kind of scene with them, be it a flashback or whatever, it's obviously not out of the question. Maybe unlikely, but obviously not out of the question. Anyway, well said. Thanks for bringing that up, man. Next up, Russell Amador writes, my wife said the first 5 minutes were boring. Wow. Hey, man, like we said, Russell, it's all subjective. It's also, maybe that type of action stuff doesn't do it for your wife. If that's the case, no problem. It's all fair. Hopefully she liked the rest of it. But if it didn't work for her, it didn't work for her. Obviously, it worked for you and me, but if it didn't work for her, it didn't work for her. All right. Dr. J writes, John, after 6-hour WandaVision, 4 hours of Snyder Cut, and now The Falcon and Winter Soldier, is there a danger that the next film released will seem a little underdeveloped due to its shorter runtime? Thanks. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Listen, if you're a gifted, great storyteller, you know how to tell your story. Like, listen, look, the example I always bring up is this. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy in the hands of a gifted, talented filmmaker and storyteller like James Gunn. Modern way of thinking would suggest, you've got to do a standalone movie first of Star-Lord, and a standalone movie of Gamora, and a standalone movie of Drax, and a standalone movie of Rocket, and a standalone movie of Groot. And then once you get all that, then you have them come together and have Guardians of the Galaxy. Otherwise, it's going to just feel too rushed. It's just going to feel rushed. You're not. That's what, if they were announcing today for the first time that they're doing a Guardians of the Galaxy, that's what everybody would be saying. They're rushing it. You can't just do that with 5 main characters. You can't do that. Yes, you can. A gifted filmmaker like a James Gunn was able to step in and say, hey, I can, in just a little over 2 hours, I can introduce these characters, give meat to their histories and backstories, introduce the main narrative of the story, take them through that narrative, and bring it all to conclusion in just over 2 hours. If you do it right, it can be done very effectively and done with the right pacing and runtime. It can be absolutely beautiful. So, no, I think as long as, like Chloe Zhao during the Eternals, I have got no worries, especially after watching Nomadland. I have no worries about her ability to do that. She's going to introduce us to like 10 new characters. We're going to understand them. We're going to get the narrative and we're going to get to the conclusion, and it's going to feel sharp and crisp and great. I mean, I don't know, maybe it'll be a car wreck, but considering she's about to win the Academy Award for Best Director, I'm going to bet it's not going to be a car wreck, but you never know. So no, I'm not worried about that. I'm honestly, there's always been a difference between television and movies and how they're made, right? Watching Breaking Bad, you don't go, oh my God, we just watched all these seasons and all these episodes of Breaking Bad. Is the next movie I watch going to feel underdeveloped? And the answer to that is no. As long as you're watching a good movie. I mean, for all I know, maybe you are watching a terrible, underdeveloped movie. But I'm guessing that wouldn't be the case. So no, I am personally not worried about that at all. But that's just me. All right, next up. It's a fair question, though, Dr. J. It's totally a fair question. Jay Meister writes, Going forward, I hope the show balances more action with the slower paced dialogue scenes. Both are great. Now I hope they weave more. Well, I mean, listen, you don't, but here's the thing, J Meister, you don't need a big action sequence every single episode, right? Like, you look at a show like WandaVision, we didn't get a big set piece action scene till like the final episode of the series, but it was great. It was great. You know, you don't need to have 50% action, 50% narrative story. Action is there to serve the narrative. Everything needs to be in service to the narrative. And when action is appropriate to do that, throw in the action. But if you throw it in just for the sake of throwing it in, action becomes visual noise. Action just becomes visual noise. So as long as they do what is best for the story, and if that means 4 big action set pieces through the series, then make it 4 big action set pieces. If it means 3 big action set pieces, make it 3 big action set pieces. But as long as they keep doing really good character work and really good storytelling like they did in episode 1, I'm fine either way. Personally, I'm fine either way. So we'll see how it goes. As long as they use the right amount of action for whatever the story is, I'm fine. Too much is bad. Too little is bad. Just find the right amount and we'll see how that goes. All right, next up. Anthony M.R. writes, as a man from an old era, we get to see Cap grow and adapt to the modern era. We always saw Bucky fighting all the time. In this show, we can finally see how he adapts to his modern era as normal. Because we also got to remember, you know, I was having this discussion with somebody and they were saying, well, you know, Bucky has kind of been able to adjust as he goes, but not really, because for many decades, he was just a brainwashed, sometimes on ice guy. He only recently, like going back to Winter Soldier, became himself again. So he's got to go through this adjustment too. And we haven't got, but while going through the adjustment, he's also having to deal with the weight and guilt of all the horrible things that he's done. So it makes it a really interesting kind of conundrum for them there. All right, next up, Chris Hunt writes, they zoomed in on the shield a bunch of times and it was pentagram shaped. Mephisto? Bum, bum, bum. You listen, I am shocked, Chris, that we haven't heard that yet. I'm shocked. They had the shield rotate in such a way that it formed a pentagram. It's Mephisto. I'm actually surprised we haven't heard that one yet, Chris. You're the first person I heard that from. All right, next up, Charles A. writes, my sister said Carl Fredricksen from Pixar's Up is the new Captain America. I laughed hard. Good. Is Carl, you mean Carl like the old man in Up? Is that what you mean? Oh, that would be funny. Actually, you know what? He did kind of have that face. And again, I want to be careful how much we're joking about it because this is obviously a real actor with a real face. And I'm sure he's totally a handsome guy. It's just the way that the mask was sitting on him and he was making that smug kind of look on his face. But I'm sure in real life, it's a very, very handsome man. I'm sure it's a total handsome man. But that is it's a good observation, Charles, that your sister made. It looks like Carl from Up. All right. Russell Amador writes, a new hope has been found in Captain Brickface. Somebody's got to make a shirt of that with the face that he had, just Captain Brickface. I like that. All right, next up, Tacky75 writes, poor Wyatt Russell, everybody dumps on him today. I off the top of my head, I cannot remember who or what Wyatt Russell is. So, so I don't know. Anyway, where are we at? Santos Henderson writes, wasn't Red Skull freed once? Sorry, let me try this again. Wasn't Red Skull freed once the Soul Stone was gone? Oh, wasn't Red Skull freed once the Soul Stone was gone? He is likely to return in the future. Obviously, this is off topic, but it's never clarified. Again, it is off topic. Let's try. We're here to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier. But hey, Red Skull is connected to Captain America, who is clearly connected to this show. I will say this. I do believe at some point Red Skull will return. I do not believe it'll be in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I do believe at some point we will see him return. We will see him return. And people are saying Wyatt Russell is the new Cap. Okay, so there you go. There you go. Okay, Wyatt Russell's the new Cap. Who is Kurt Russell's son? I didn't even realize that. Look at that. I'm learning stuff from the live chat every day. Okay, let's move on here. That was Santes. Next up, Alex Von Gollum writes, hey, John, been thinking Whether they bring the mission report December 16th into the show. After seeing the episode, it might be relevant. What do you think? No, I honestly think by them having that scene, they were basically saying, at least in my opinion, what they were basically saying was, listen, Bucky's past is now done. His past is now done. And he's going to move on. By the way, guys, just so you're aware, I'm about to turn off the super chat feature because we got to cut off the incoming questions because I want to be able to finish off all the questions that we have. So you've got about 15 seconds. If you do have something else you want to throw in there, you got about 15 seconds to do that. And then I'm disabling the super chat feature. Anyway. So yeah, I don't think they will. I really think they signal to us, we're moving forward with Bucky. It's not going to be about Bucky dealing with stuff. I don't think they're going to do that. Now, I'm not saying I know they're not going to do that. I don't have any proof of that. I don't have anything like that at all. But it is my guess that they're just going to let Bucky move forward. It's my guess that they're just going to let him move forward. So yeah, there's that. All right. Next up. Dave Atkins writes, over under 60%. Justin Hammer, Sam Rockwell, makes an appearance via Zemo, breaking him out of prison to assist with weapon development and plot against Bucky. Well, I mean, if Baron Zemo had any connection at all to Justin Hammer, maybe. But Justin Hammer wasn't even all that brilliant. At least according to Tony Stark. So since there was zero connection between the characters, and he wasn't like the smartest guy in the world, I'm going to go, I won't say 0, but I will take under 6%. I will take under 6% on that. Okay, next up. Jetfire. 97 writes, 1 of 3. I think Zemo will refresh the world of who Bucky once was. You mean remind the world? Anyway, I think Zemo will refresh the world of who Bucky once was once he knows that he can't control him again. Maybe Yori, the old man, will find out. We'll find out that way. Last time Bucky didn't tell somebody he killed their loved one, he lost an arm. Yeah, that's true. Yori wouldn't do that to him, LOL. As Steve said, it's those brave baby steps. I mean, maybe, but I don't even think... Remember, Zemo... In as much as Zemo was trying to frame Bucky, let's remember that Zemo never had an issue with Bucky. Zemo's issue was with the Avengers. That's who his issue was with. And Bucky just ended up being a tool that he used to inflict his revenge on the Avengers, but he doesn't actually have an issue with Bucky. Bucky never wronged him. Bucky's not the one that he has a problem with. So I don't know that Zemo's great is like on some kind of, that Zemo is on some kind of, let's get revenge against Bucky sort of thing, right? Where I'm going to reveal to the world who you are. I have a feeling it's either going to be going after Avengers again, or maybe maybe he is the Flag Smashers. He just thinks that the world was better off with half the population and blah, blah. Maybe he came back from the snap himself. Maybe Zemo had been snapped away, and that's how he's out of prison. He was snapped away, and then when the unsnapping happened, he was just out in the field somewhere. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out, but that is possible. Okay. Next up. Benjamin GL writes, over under 100%, there is a scene of Zemo using the mind control code on Bucky, and he just scenes nice try metal. Let me read this again. Over under 100%, there is a scene of Zemo using the mind control code on Bucky, and he just scenes nice try metal fist to the face. I'm going to go under 100%. Actually, and I'm going to go well under 100%. I think Zemo is a very intelligent man. And I think Zemo would probably know that once he tipped his hand that there was this code to trigger Bucky, that they would have figured out a way to fix that. So because of that, I'm not going to say it's only like 5% chance or anything like that, but I will say under 100% and probably well under 100%. And that's my guess. Okay. Oh, you probably meant people saying he just screams "nice try" and then metal fist to the face. Oh, that would be funny. But yeah, again, I'm gonna go on the assumption that Zemo would be smart enough to realize they probably addressed that issue that he had already exploited once. Right? That's my guess. All right. EPW 2007 writes, Steve will be on a base on the moon, which will turn out to be at Atlan. Oh, the city of the Inhumans. Oh, no. There is no way Kevin Feige is ever touching anything to do with that Inhuman stuff. No. I could just see it now in like a writer's meeting. Some MCU writer going, so what if they just say this moon base, but it's Atalan, the home of the Inhumans. And then Kevin Feige's like, let me stop you right there, Sparky. No. Bad writer. Bad. No supper for you. And then he throws him out of the writer's room. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, next up, Dominic Suma writes, I wish when they announced the new Captain America at the end of the episode, out walked Anthony Starr as Homelander. Boom! The new MCU's big bad is introduced. That would be a crossover. That would break the internet. I mean, if Anthony Starr came walking out as Homelander, our new Captain America, and it's Anthony, that would break the internet. That would be the ultimate multiverse crossover right there. That would be an insane multiverse crossover. All right. Peg Killian writes, do you think anyone will realize that U.S. agent is Ego's son, Kurt Russell? And will there be any mention of Quill? Yeah, it turns out he's actually that. I mean, man, it's so funny these days, because this reminds me of this conversation I was having with my buddy, that in one point, not long ago, you could say, oh my gosh, did you know that in this other movie, there's like 2 actors who have been in comic book movies? What? Nowadays, it's hard finding a movie where there isn't somebody who was in a comic book movie or is the son or daughter of somebody. Now it's becoming a legacy thing. And I had totally forgotten that Kurt Russell was Ego, the Living Planet. I totally forgotten about that for a second. Now he got his own son in there. Maybe he's one of those guys he was looking for. It's all craziness, Peg. It's all craziness. All right, next up. JK writes, I couldn't help compare post-blip MCU with our eventual post-COVID world. The characters and world working through it resonate with me a lot. I mean, it's kind of true. I mean, obviously the blip was a much more serious thing, although it was fantasy and fiction. But you're right. The repercussions of dealing with now trying to come to a post-COVID world is something that we're all very much looking forward to, but it's going to take some getting used to as well. So it's actually a really nice comparison, JK. All right. Zach Knott Snyder writes, old man's there to give Bucky PTSD placed by Zemo. Yeah, maybe. He's there specific, but again, I don't think Zemo has it out for Bucky. Bucky may have it out for Zemo, but I don't think Zemo has it out for Bucky the other way around. By the way, the 8th just sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, the 8th. Appreciate that, man. All right, next up, Benjamin GL writes, anyone else feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier is officially Cap 4? Also, it feels like only show that will have season 2. Also, maybe Loki. Never mind. You know what? I think you're right. By the way, you can tell my voice is struggling right now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going into hour 4 of the amount of talking I've been doing today. Sorry, I'm heading into hour 5. I'm now in hour 5 of how much talking I've been doing today. So sorry about this. My voice is kind of fading on me here. No, I think you're right. I think there will be a Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2. Unlike WandaVision, which I thought was clearly a limited series, I believe, and I have nothing to base this on. I have no insider information. This is just me guessing. I think you're right. I think there will be a Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2. Whether or not Loki we'll have to see what they do with Loki, but I do feel like this is one of them that will become will get a second season. I think a lot of these MCU shows won't. I think a couple of them will, and I think this is one of them that will. But then again, let's see how it ends. Maybe it ends with Bucky dying. We don't know. All right, next up. Santez Henderson writes, I bet you the next episode will dive into superheroes starting in OnlyFans just to put the montage and their student loan, a mortgage, to put the mortgage and their student loan debt. I'm telling you, man, I don't get, I mean, somebody, maybe I should start an OnlyFans, a fans only. What's it called? OnlyFans or fans only? I can't remember. I think I'll start one. I bet you I can make, I put up a fans only or an OnlyFans. I cannot remember which one it is. Guys, help me out. Is it fans only or OnlyFans? I can't remember. But I think it's time to start the John Campea OnlyFans. It's time to start the John Campea OnlyFans because I bet you I could raise like at least $9. I bet I could release it like $9. There's at least $9 worth of people out there that want a better look at that, which is the Campea. Now, I know. It's like, John, too much. Too sexy, Antonio. Too sexy. Put it away. I know it could cause like ripples across time. The images of my bare body breaks up marriages across the world. Once satisfied women in marriages now take a look at what I got and all of my Italianness and thinking my husband just doesn't cut it. I need better things in life. And they move on. And it's like I'm causing the blip. It's like I'm causing the snap, guys. I've got to be more responsible. I know I could raise like $9, but I got to be more responsible. With great power, with great filthy comes great responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. With great filthy comes great responsibilities. So I have to take this gift, this sculpture of the gods, and I have to treat it with sensitivity and respect and responsibility. With great power comes great filthy comes great responsibility. $9, I'm telling you, I bet you I could raise $9, a good crisp $9. Anyway, next up, we got Mary who writes, Falcon killed so many people in that opening sequence. LOL, it's true. I was just like, damn, no mercy. The very first time, like he gets on the plane and the first guy that he throws out the door, I'm like, wow, that's the first murder. Didn't take long for the first murder. Yeah, he murdered a lot of people. He killed a lot of people in that first scene. No doubt he did. There was already a climbing body count. There was already a climbing body count right there from the beginning. All right, last one of the day comes to us from Benjamin GL, who writes, super chat, hi John, bye, oh well, and then of course the ace in that. So guys, that'll do it for this installment of our Falcon and Winter Soldier open spoiler discussions. Guys, episode 1 planted all the right seeds. It laid all the right foundation. It shows us as putting story and character first while also giving us one of the greatest television action sequences ever. It was a great start to the show, and I cannot wait. For episode 2. So do not forget, guys, episode 2 spoiler discussion will, of course, be next Friday, again at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you so much for being here. My throat is so gone right now. Don't forget, guys, first of all, special thank you to all of you who sent in the questions, because number 1, you gave us all these great things to theorize about and talk about, but number 2, you also supported this channel while you did. So all of us who are involved here with the channel, thank you guys very, very much for that. Don't forget, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open for the John Campea OnlyFans account, where I strive to make $9. Anyway, and yeah, that'll do it for me, guys. And by the way, keep your eyes open tomorrow. I probably have 2 companion videos coming this weekend. One is going to be part 2 of our Justice League open spoiler discussion. That'll be going up tomorrow. And then we're going to do a big companion video, getting all the questions cleared out from the John Campea Show, all wrapped up and all cleaned up. That'll probably be Sunday, so keep your guys' eyes open for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Remember to do the 4 main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, OnlyFans.